Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
What if I were to tell you that you have a trump card that many businesses do not have? In today's episode of the Childcare Bridge, I want to talk through a secret source of marketing and community engagement that you probably have never thought of in the way that I want to teach it to you today. So one of the metrics that I have been watching like a hawk is the level of dissatisfaction with people. So, well, Michael, what does that mean? What I'm seeing in terms of data that's being reported is that people are getting lonelier and lonelier. They're isolating themselves more and more. So that's been a lot more work from home. People have a smaller friend group. Basically, what it's saying is that more people are miserable, depressed, unhappy. They're not doing as well as they would like. But there's a silver lining. And the silver lining is the data is showing that there is going to be a huge resurgence to P2P connections, people-to-people connections in real life. In real life. Now you might say, okay, Michael, get to the point here. We have kids that come in, they're having their human-to-human connection. Where are you going with this? So you have what many other people do not have. A physical, retail/physical building. You've got an outlet that people come to on a regular basis. And maybe you've thought of doing community events, and maybe a couple of times a year you do an open house. But have you thought about doing a 360 on this strategy and actually opening up your doors on a more regular basis to the community? And this does not mean you having to pay for everything and now you're doing these open house events every single week. What I'm encouraging you to look at, and we're going to talk through some other centers that we've worked with that have deployed this successfully, is leveraging your space and partnering with other organizations, partnering with other businesses, partnering with the community to allow them to use your space so that that P2P connection continues to grow. But what ends up happening for you is the branding aspect. So there's one area that I have not talked a ton about over the last couple of years in doing this podcast. And I've talked a little bit about branding, and I've talked about how branding as of late can be your secret sauce, and I'm going to revisit that in today's episode in just a minute. But we've talked about branding your name, and I want you to trademark your name so you're not ABC Childcare like 10,000 other childcare centers. And that's a part of branding. That's more the naming side. The branding aspect that I am seeing as a golden opportunity for you is to constantly be involved with and in front of the community and leveraging the space that you literally are already paying for. You're already paying for it. There isn't this gigantic hard cost outside of someone on your team being there to kind of keep an eye on things. So how does this strategy work? And again, where does this then turn into future business? So the first thing that I want you to keep in mind is that this is not an enrollment event. This is not something that I want you to start doing and walking into this thinking that you're going to magically get all these enrollments. What we're doing here is covertly putting your brand out there, putting your name out there, putting your center out there to where the community is seeing your name, they're seeing your logo, They're putting the address into Google and clicking on maps, which I'm going to come back to that little fun thing in just a minute, because there's a lot of random benefits that you never would have thought of that this can help with. So this is all designed around you strategically picking a couple of organizations to partner with and say, I'd love to open up my space if you want to have some kind of event or you want to have a meeting here from 6 to 8 every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. Maybe opening up on a Saturday, for example. Opening up a space that literally, again, you already are paying for. It's a sunk cost. So what we've been doing in testing this with some of the centers that we work with is making a list of businesses that could potentially benefit from leveraging our space. So the first one that we thought of was the Chamber of Commerce. So most local Chamber of Commerce organizations have some type of office, but not a huge space. And if they were to do a learning event or a training event or a networking event, they're always looking for space. What if you were to say, hey, we're going to set up a classroom for you, and you're welcome to come in and use the space that we have for you. So what does this end up doing? So first, the chamber, and they might want to ask you to join the chamber, so that's, I guess, another little fun thing. But the chamber now is aware of your center or centers. The members are now aware because they're going to put out an email to their database that says, hey, upcoming networking event or upcoming event is held at ABC Childcare with this location. Now all these people that are on the database are hearing and seeing your name. The little fun benefit of Google is that this is a little techie, but I wanted to just share it with you as a stealth strategy that never gets talked about. As more and more people actually put in get driving directions, so they go to Google, they put in your address and they click on driving directions, that's a signal to Google that you are a popular place. That helps grow your rankings. So if all of a sudden 50 people or even 10 people on a regular basis are now clicking on driving directions and going to your center, that's helping your Google rankings and your map placements. But then as they get there, they're going to be, oh, this is a beautiful space. And oh, I didn't even know this center was over here. And all these things are going to start to build. And all that you're doing is providing a space that you already have. You're not offering to host by way of paying for all the food and drinks and things like that. You're not offering to be bringing in guest speakers, but we'll also talk about that. You're literally just saying, hey, I've got a space that if you ever need to meet somewhere, I'm more than happy to help get this space ready for you. We've partnered with churches and said, hey, if you need a space. We've partnered with the Knights of Columbus. We've partnered with schools. They have a space that they typically open, but we made this list of like, what are all the businesses that could be interesting, but they run into issues with space and timing. So like a school, they can't just open up at whim. They need to have the janitors and they have administrators and people like that that have to come and open stuff up, where you can be more flexible. We started opening up our doors for some of these locations for different charity and nonprofit groups and allowed them to have just a comfortable space to meet. Now, what were the results? That's kind of the piece that you're probably thinking, well, this sounds like a lot of work. So A, it's not a ridiculous amount of work because you're just having to move some things around in a classroom. And yeah, if we've got to bring in some chairs, I mean, they're $10 a chair, for example. You go over to Target or Walmart and buy some of the more adult-ish chairs if you need. But you already have a nice space. You've already got heat and running water. It's colorful. The energy's good. But what we started noticing as we started doing this about 6 months ago was that we've started to see a lift. And we kept all things equal. We kept the marketing budgets equal. We didn't start drastically growing the budgets because that wouldn't be, I guess, a standard split test, so to speak. So we kept the consistent marketing that we've been doing, and we just started introducing our space to different organizations. We found a lot of success with the chamber. Like, yeah, we'd love to come there. But again, the big difference is that you're not saying that I want to feature my space. You're reaching out and you're saying, I own a childcare center that's located here. If you ever need a space, I would be open to opening my doors and allowing you to use my space completely gratis. That's the secret sauce. And as we started putting this out into the universe and we started getting more, now a lot of the centers that we've been testing with this, they have a list of too many organizations that now want to use their space. But it's starting to fulfill that P2P connection, that human connection, because you can only get on so many Zoom meetings. You can only get on so many virtual conferences. There's going to be a really big growing trend the next 2 to 3 years of people wanting to get off their devices and actually connect. And you've got that trump card because you have a space. You have a space that you can give before all your other competitors start to do it. But can you tell me the last time that a competitor offered their space that wasn't a community event that was around and based on their center? I can't tell you one, but that's why we're thinking outside the box. We're going guerrilla. We're getting creative, guerrilla marketing. But as we've started to do this again over the last 6 months, we've started to see a lift. A lift of leads, a lift of new enrollments, a lift of brand conversations, because brand is going to become the new social currency. We're seeing people going on mom groups and saying, I don't have any kids, but I was at an event at ABC Childcare Center and their space was beautiful for anyone that has kids. We started taking screenshots of these things and we literally noticed, without prompting anyone, without asking for anything, that our brand started growing, the community awareness started to increase. We literally were getting marketing completely free of charge without having to ask. So think about that. And this is one of those that you're going to have to marinate on this topic because it's not what you normally have done. You're used to doing a few events a year. You open them to the community. Maybe it's an open house. You've never thought of allowing other organizations to come in. Now, I'm not saying, again, you're letting someone come in every single day of the week. I'm saying maybe a day a week, maybe a weekend day, for example, for a couple of hours. That's it. You're putting that goodwill out to the community. You're strategically offering it to certain organizations that maybe are near and dear or closer to your heart, that, hey, I want to support this organization. I know they don't have a big footprint. Maybe you even offer it to the Facebook mom group and say, hey, we have this great space if the administrators of the page want to get together. Start thinking outside the box and just test this strategy out. Now, don't just give them the keys or here's our alarm code. I want you to have somebody there, but you're there in the background, but test it out for a couple of months and you're going to start to see a lift. I promise you'll start to see a lift and your competitors will not know what hit them. Plain and simple. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.